Yes, we will. Episode number 12. So I'm going to ask you, if you could take away all the pain from your child's life, would you?
Absolutely not.
Many would.
And many would fuck up their kids.
Many have.
Yes, I've seen it. I'll never forget this life coach friend of mine said, Greg Long. He goes, the fastest way to turn your kids into heroin addicts is give them everything.
Hmm. I say something similar about women. It's a good joke. He
No,
said,
what is it?
you know how to make a woman, what do you say? You know how to make a woman immediately unhappy? He said, give her
Yeah,
everything she wants.
that's a very good point. That's a very good point.
It's like people in general, because people need, it's like that thing where people always need to find something to fight against. Even if they don't have problems, they'll go out there and they'll find problems.
I don't. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I know people need a purpose.
Well, if everything, I heard, actually, I was listening to Naval and Chris Williamson earlier. Naval was talking about, he's like, if you got everything that went your way in life, you'd be bored as hell.
Yeah, right. Exactly what I'm trying to say. If you have to have a purpose to get up in the morning, and when you get a little bit of money, this one guy that's got a lot of money, um, is doing a series, and it's called Kids That Flip. And you got these 12 to 15 to 17-year-olds flipping houses,
All right.
right? And he made the program, and he goes, you got to have something you want to pull the covers off and jump out of your bed. That's what you got to have. And so he's in a different position than even me. So he doesn't have to work. So he does what he wants, right? You got to have a purpose, or you're going to turn into the heroin addict. That's what he's trying to say.
I've seen it in a few different ways. Somebody said recently, Mark Twain line, say, you need to turn your vocation into your vacation into your vocation.
Ooh,
That was a
that's
good one.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would
There's
definitely.
another, you don't know him, but Big Sean is a rapper that I used to listen to a lot. And he said in one song, he said, what you know about waking up every day like you on a mission? Like that same pop out of bed. What do you know about that? Where you wake up and you just explode out of bed because you can't wait to get your day started. Like,
Exactly.
but when we were kids, we all kind of had that though.
I still got it. I love getting out of bed.
Well,
I
you're
love getting
you're
out of bed.
you're in a good position, but a lot of people are beat down by life or whatever.
They are, and I wish they weren't. I wish they weren't. I love what I'm doing.
So we need to save these kids from their goddamn parents and say that you should not take all the pain away from your kid because this is what forms them. This is what helps them grow.
You know, are we recording?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what I try and teach people, what is your job as a parent?
That's the dangerous thing safely.
Dangerous thing safely. You're not exactly. That's a good way of putting it. I used to say, your job is not to not let your kids fall. It's to moderate the fall at the age they're at, to make sure that they can handle the fall that they're at.
Yeah, there's been some country songs over the year that talked about this, like their dad being like, "I don't know how you knew, but you just gave me enough rope. You gave me enough rope."
Mm-hmm.
And it's
And you
just,
pretty much know each kid. Like I'm sure you got three kids, right?
yeah, yeah,
You know which kid can handle what.
a little bit. It's
That's
still
what
a
you're
little
trying to
early,
say.
but yeah.
And then there's times where you not to take a step back, but give them the tools. Like if one of them yells at another one,
Yes, that is
give them
the
the
biggest
tools.
thing.
Give them the tools to deal with it. Your brother did this. Well, why don't you go over and say this to him? And then he goes over and says that because you know what the other one needs to hear. So just giving them the tools to work life, and then like with my kid, man, what is your? This is a huge. What is your objective for your kids? What is your objective?
Mine?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'll pass what I was given on to them as the primary, which would be to be a free thinker.
Mm.
But I think I will add to this my own would be to add to this to be a whole person. Be a whole person. Because so many people out here, they just And it kind of takes a village, honestly. I mean,
It
it
does.
sounds weak or whatever, but I mean, a couple of my friends ride me about it. But it is what it is, dude. It really everything. It all takes a village. You're a piece of a puzzle. That's all you are. And most people gel once they find where they fit in that puzzle, you know. But be a whole person. So many people out here, they're not. They're codependent emotionally. Um, Yeah, largely emotionally, I think, because like a lot of dudes will go out here and they'll be emotionally dependent on a woman, or a woman will go out here and it should be financially dependent on a man. I know it's kind of changing, but it's like be a whole person before you commit to any relationship. Is kind of probably one of the biggest things I'm thinking on these days, because that saves you from so many headaches. Saves you from so many headaches.
A friend of mine, the life coach dude, said he said to me one time, I go, "What do you tell the people that you're working with?" He goes, "You're perfect, whole, and complete, just the way you are."
Mm.
And I went, "Wow, what an empowering statement! You're perfect, whole, and complete. Let's just knock off the rough edges. Perfect, whole, and complete, just the way you are."
I have I said this to you before on here before actually, but I have the one it's kind of Jordan Peterson inspired, but it's a good one. But you were enough when you got here. But at the same time, you're not all you could be.
Growth, growth.
Mm. Because you're worthy, you were worthy when you got here. But at the same time, you could be so much more.
Agreed. You know what I like to say in that? Push, push, just a little bit more. Push that weight, push that car, push that fucking house, push your job, push. That's what I like to say. Push. Ugh.
Yeah,
Masculinity in there. You know what I mean? Just push.
I like it. I like it. Well, I could tell you this too. Recently, I kind of went on this thing and said, be a
Your
good soul.
your things that you go on are so in different directions. Just so you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's be a good soldier who makes good soldiers. I like that.
Be a good soldier that makes good soldiers. I hope
Yep.
our kids don't have to fight the war with the robots like I showed you earlier.
I was talking to the alarm guy about this recently. I was like, EMPs, we gotta figure out EMPs. He's like, nah, just do God damn it. He was thinking of something targeted. Not a laser. God damn it. I'm losing it right now. But yeah, I was thinking EMPs like a blast. And he's thinking, nah, just like a direct shot at a thing. That's kind of what you're looking for.
Directed energy weapons.
Maybe. Which where I talked about the lasers on the destroyers and stuff now. Remember seeing all that?
Not the lasers. Oh, dude, they got so much. It's so cool to watch and see.
Dude, they got so
What do you
much shit.
think? What do you think of the? Okay, first off, there's lasers, and lasers are working. Lasers are pretty.
Oh, that's what it was. He was talking about jammers. He's like, because if you jam it, then whoever's controlling it can't talk to it no more. So it's kind
I
of
got you. What if the robot has AI and is So let's just say a drone was a little drone about yay big. It could fly anywhere it wants, and at the front of it has a charge. It has it has C4 in it, just enough C4 that if it was and then it has the AI software in it for facial recognition. And this little drone is you see a dude sitting there talking, and this drone goes hits him in the head and blows his head up.
right.
Right? How do you stop that? And there's thousands of them, hundreds of thousands of them.
And then the EMP. Because we kind of went through that. We were saying, okay, for the single object, you're going to jam it because you get a jammer will be like a
So
targeted,
it's swarm.
focused,
It's
a
swarm.
focused thing. That's EMP. EMP is a blast. Copy?
Gotcha. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
EMP will take out 10,000 of them if they're all in the immediate area or whatever. It doesn't really matter how many. That blast is just nuking everything. But at the same time, like me and him were talking, that's going to nuke your radio. That's going to nuke all your own shit too.
But what if they insulate the product while because you can insulate against the EMP blast.
Yeah,
Do you
honestly,
think? Well,
the kind of
here's
me
the
and
thing.
him
Here's the
talking
thing
about.
for you. Do you think the Apaches and Comanches are will be affected by an EMP blast? EMP blast.
I don't know. I don't know.
I think they're insulated.
Maybe, but I kind of the same thing I'm thinking about when we kind of came to our conclusion. Me and the guy talking was that as we go, the things to fight these things is going to advance too. So likely all this drone shit will be obsolete in a few years.
Well, if AI starts to think about, so do you know how AI
AI is
lets?
it's all electric. It's all components. It's all subject to frying. All of it.
Okay, but if just like Terminator, it gets out into the World Wide Web, and it's
Yeah.
not centrally located.
Come on,
So it can go
Skynet.
to Paris, it can go to Rome, it can go to Geneva, it can go to here, it can go to here.
Come on,
The
Skynet.
AI, huh?
Talking about
Yes,
Skynet.
Skynet. Well,
Yeah,
Skynet's
that's the ultimate AI fear. Honestly, is Skynet.
yes, Skynet's because you'd have to shut down the entire internet and then not reopen it. That's the kicker.
Well, until you get the virus out or whatever the hell, right?
Well, how would so if it could travel? So it's like for us go to Italy, and then we can go. People hide. Like Saddam Hussein hid in his own country. That country's not that big. You know what I mean? He hid in his own country. So if he could
Well,
hide all around the world, I mean that'd be amazing. It'd be impossible to find.
yeah, a lot of this kind of blends over. You probably don't watch those Avengers movies, huh?
I love the Avenger movies.
Remember the Ultron?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. His ass. He was sneaking around. He took over Jarvis and shit. Remember all that? He fucked up Jarvis.
Yeah, but then, yep, and then that's what
But
created.
he was like that. He was like that virus that could go anywhere and do anything and whatever.
Yeah, but that was a movie they had to end. I mean, that could be a year's hunt. You'd have to shut down
Well,
everything.
I'm just saying that dynamic of the like AI that can infect and go anywhere at once and whatever, right?
Hmm.
Kind of runs that lane.
I wonder how you could protect AI from getting out into the world.
How do you insulate the internet from
Well,
AI?
it's control. It's all control. You got to control the beast. Like when we have zoos,
Well,
and
that's what I think about this AI. I swear, it's. I think it's just so new to us that we're like, oh no, how will we do that? Like when bullets came out, they never foresaw bulletproof vest.
good
It's
point.
where everything comes out that is an offensive thing. There's a genius around creating a defensive thing for it. Either we don't know about it yet, or it hasn't come up yet, maybe. But in the next few years, I feel like all these drones and shit are just gonna fall off because there's gonna be some
Drones
fucking
already
whiz
are.
kid.
It's AI. What AI can do with the drones, or AI can do with anything.
AI is it's another electronic component though. It's just
I used to think the same thing. And I was talking to
and
I was
even if you're dealing with your scenario like web based, it all is focused on a physical item or it just means nothing to us, you know? Because I don't care if AI is going to take over the world. Oh, well, he's just going to stay in the fucking ether then because he's not going to actually come down and be physical. Then he can't affect any of us.
well, no, in the well, so in the ether, you're hard to kill. So if he's in the ether, he's hard to kill, and he can control items in the physical space. Then he's got
Then it's
power.
physical. Then it becomes a thing, you know. But if you can insulate from that ether, whatever the hell, internet, web, whatever.
Well, the ether is a very unique place. It's very very secure because it's arbitrary. It's not
Well,
conducive.
you're dealing with quantum almost at that level. So,
Mm-hmm.
and we're knocking on the door of quantum stuff. So what if we just have quantum
God,
weapons? What if we just have quantum weapons to fight AI? I don't fucking know. It's just above my pay grade, son.
well, that's the ethical part of the guys that are creating it.
Hopefully, right?
Yeah, Elon
Hopefully,
Musk.
hopefully.
Well, they gotta. they gotta figure something out, man. Because the possibility of the possibility of catastrophe.
And Skynet. Skynet is the thing. Skynet is the thing.
The possibility of disaster is 100%, and he knows that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what's crazy? I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, it's crazy how we have nukes. We literally have the ability to wipe everybody out, and we still have conflict. It just seems kind of bizarre. Like, I have something that can deplete every generation that will ever come from your land, and you still want to fuck with me. I think it's ironic. I think it's ironic.
The Houthis,
Yeah.
missiles against our fleet.
You know they stopped. You know why they stopped?
Yeah,
We bombed the fuck out of them, dude. I don't know how many millions or billions they said got spent on bombs in the past like month, but it's retarded.
I just don't understand. I don't understand why that's a David and Goliath thing.
It's just caveman thinking. It's emotional thinking. There's no way you logically think that you can overcome that superpower, but you're gonna try based on it has to be emotion. Because logically, you can't come to that conclusion that you're going to win that fight.
Did I tell
Maybe
you
that battle. Maybe that battle, right? But not that war.
You're not going to win anything. No, there's a no-win scenario. Did you know that when we started the Gulf War, the Project Shield, whatever Gulf War, whatever we wanted to start it was, do you know the coalition forces? I didn't know this. The Iraqi army was the 4th largest army in the world that day. In 2.5 hours, the U.S. coalition forces demolished their Air Force.
Yeah.
Any time to retaliate, automatically, within 2 hours of the war, we had air superiority. I didn't know it was 2 hours. I didn't know it was 2 hours.
Yeah, it was hours. Yeah. Yeah, it was hours. Yeah.
That blows my mind. The 4th largest army in the world.
It shouldn't, though. It really shouldn't. You got to think.
2 hours?
At that time,
2
dude.
hours.
We were just coming into our shit right around that time, especially with air superiority. I think the Raptors were coming out then, the F-22s and shit. It was getting real, dude. And our bombers are what they are, especially even then, But you can't be surprised that some people that fuck camels went out in 2 hours.
Do you know how they got into the? I remember when they were having a hard time with his bunkers. You remember that? Like, we can't get past his Air Force bunkers because they were bomb proof, right? He had park his airplanes, his Air Force. They had I don't know how thick of a structure it was, but you park your airplane in there and it's bomb proof, and then they pull it out. So what they did to get into the bunkers, 30 feet deep, is they got howitzer cannons, 30 something feet howitzer cannons. They filled them with explosive. They put a detonator on it, and they just dropped it, and the howitzer cannon went through the cement and blew up their bunkers.
Well, that's probably where they started with the bunker busters and stuff.
That was the first bunker buster.
Is that a J-Dam? Isn't that what the J-Dams are? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know how long it took them to get from concept to delivery?
How long?
3 weeks. They got a couple of the howitzer cannons.
Our defense budget is real.
They painted it while in air. It was drying. They dropped it. So they went 100 foot down. They said, "Shit, let's send a couple of them to Iraq. Let's see what happens." And within 3 weeks, they were on transport getting ready to be
still wet behind the ears, but they got it done.
Wet paint.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Wet behind the ears, wet paint in these motherfuckers. Those things.
That's funny. All right, this next one I think you're really gonna like.
Uh-oh.
So I was thinking on this. I don't remember what exactly brought me to it, but tyranny, desert, promised land. In that order, it has to be.
Tyranny.
Tyranny, desert, promised land. In that order, it has to be. It has to be.
Elaborate.
Well, you go through your good book. This is the whole Exodus thing, isn't it? Moses in the desert. He left the tyranny with his people. They got put out in the desert. And only then can you find the promised land. It's kind of the same way with people though, in the way that you're in a structure when you start out, you think it's the way to go. You rebel against the structure, and now you're left with nothing. So, and I've heard somebody say this about adolescents. They kind of, when they rebel, they kind of want to create a society in their own image. And that's a hard path to walk. And I don't think a lot of people make it, but it's the only way to get to the promised land and to be basically kind of be the person you want to be, Because if you were to just be raised up, kind of like the Moses story, honestly, he was raised up. He just did the rich guy stuff because he was a rich guy, right? He had everything mapped out for him. I believe this is the story with him. But later in,
he was
go
planned to
ahead.
be the Pharaoh.
Yeah, he had life made. He was good. He ended up riding a gravy train. But at a certain point, like, I am just missing something from my life. I just can't fucking. And he never broke out and kind of did what he thought he should do, right?
Well, that's an interesting concept. Tyranny through the desert to the
Tyranny, desert, promised land. And it has to be that way. It's like almost all growth has to come through that type of structure.
Yeah, you hurt my brain.
I'm trying.
You're doing a good job. I can't debate that. I can't discount that. I can't prove that wrong.
Well, maybe, can you think of anything where that shows itself in maybe your life, business, or anything? Because I could give you one more, but I'll give you a chance to kind of.
Kind of recoup from this one. So, tyranny is a big word.
Because tyranny will be your structure. It will be the thing you're born into, even. It will be the thing that you're taught is the norm, is taught is the way, is taught is the right way. But you like, nah, this ain't right. I gotta figure this out for myself, right? That's kind of the.
So what about growing up? Isn't that concept? So
Well, the
tyranny would be
adolescent rebellion phase, right? That's kind of the.
every kid has a rebellion. Your kids are gonna rebel.
Yes,
I'll never
yes.
forget my daughter came up to me
You
one
just want a
night.
healthy amount. You want a healthy amount of rebellion. You don't want too much. You don't want too little. You want a healthy amount.
Tyranny. I'm gonna post that one on Facebook. This is a good one because this reminds me of a story. My daughter came up to me and she was like 19 in my
Hmm.
house, and she goes, "I don't have to listen to you. I'm 19." And I just went, "Go do this." Above her head, somewhere else. Go do this somewhere else. And then she turned around and walked in her room. She had a boyfriend at the time. And then she goes, she called him up and then she was talking to him. Come on, let's move out. Let's do this, blah, 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 blah. And she made a plan, right? So I was the
Going
tyranny,
to the desert.
you know, now she's going to the desert, right? And then she's like, and then when she got out, she did. She moved out with her boyfriend and she goes, I got to pay bills. I got light bills. I got this. I got that. I got this. Yep, exactly. Now she's in
Mhm.
the desert, right?
It's a
Now
vessel
she
for
goes,
growth. It just seems
and
to be the only vessel for growth, which is terrible, but
it's a great path. I can't say it's the
it's a
only
hard
path.
path. It's a hard path. But is it the only path? I'm thinking so.
I can't deny it. I can't say that you're wrong. I can't say you're wrong.
Especially if your aim is right? Like if you aim to be a trash guy your whole life, like I don't know, maybe it doesn't apply to you because you're never going to fight against
That
that
might be the
tyranny.
that might be the promised land for him. What's the promised land? The promised land
Yeah,
for
success is
me
different to
has been
everybody, but I say tyranny because tyranny's right. It's your boss, it's the job, it's the man, it's the taxes, it's the thing, right? It's always the thing. There's always something gnawing at you, pulling at you, because like as much as we want to say we're free, In a way, nobody is,
Well, define free.
Define free. Your house is paid for and you don't have to pay your bills. But then in a time of war, the government deems that they need your property. Guess what? They're taking that motherfucker.
They can't. Not in America. They can't do that.
Bullshit. Did you even watch the Civil War? Do you know anything about the Civil War?
I know about the Civil War. They were
Oh, and they're commandeering people's houses for the troops. You know about that?
So they can't do that.
They did it. I mean, they can't do it.
I know they did it. So does the government do things illegally? Yes. Do they get caught for it? Yes.
My point exactly. Rules for thee, not for me. My point exactly. That is called tyranny.
I understand that, but it's called illegal search and seizure. They can't do either of those.
But they did.
Well, it was wartime, dude. I mean, you gotta.
How about the people who live in a neighborhood who don't want to sell it to the government, who want to put a highway through it, who just buy all around them and devalue their property to the point that they can't have any other option but to sell it. And now it's going to be for pennies on the dollar to what they could have got before because they wanted to play this game.
Right. Well, that's stupidity.
No, that's somebody saying, this is where I've always lived. This is where I'm going to live until I die. And then the government says, fuck you. And we're going to do what we want. And we'll find ways around you.
So do you remember that line in Star Trek where
nope.
The needs of the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few?
For the greater good?
Do you believe that? The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few?
I don't know. That's a tough one because we are Americans and we like to believe in liberty and we like to believe in personal freedoms.
Do you understand? I know a bunch of people. I know a bunch of people that so you can play. So you get business wise. Let me attack this from a business aspect. All right, if you play ball the right way, you'll win. If you play ball the wrong way, you're gonna fucking lose. Remember that. You're gonna fucking lose.
But in order to play the game, you have to admit that there's a tyrannical aspect to it, or you could just walk away from the game.
Fine. So when you're gifted, when you're gifted with the friends of mine built an apartment built a strip mall, right, on this 2-lane road in Michigan, knowing it was going to go to 5 lanes and they would have to take out half it. They made it like an L, like the street went like this, and the complex was like this. And then
so like this, in the way of straight shot, I guess.
Well, the road, and then the building went like this, and they had a separation halfway through where they knew they had to cut to, and then that the rest of the building would still be applicable on that main road. So it went from a 2-lane road to a 5-lane road, so more people are going to travel on the road, right? And they built it knowing full well the building department couldn't stop them from doing it, but we're planning on putting a 5-lane here. And they said, okay. They built a brand new building, had to cut it in half. But what they built it for, what was valued for at the time they had to do it, was time and a half. They got to 2 times what they built, what it was worth at that time. They doubled their money, and now they have a place on a busier road than they did before. Right? That's good business. And when you have to give up something, they always give you, I call it time and a half. If the house is worth $500,000, they have to give you $750 for the house. They have to give you
make it worth your time, over and above and beyond demand market value.
But if you want to stick your guns, ride to that horse, you're gonna fucking lose, and then you get, like you said, devalued to almost nothing.
You remember I don't know if you saw the movie Up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to him, wasn't it? They were building construction all around his house. They wanted to buy his, but he's like, fuck you. And
just pulled out the balloons, man. So at time and a half, you could move that house. You could literally move that house somewhere else.
Actually, I thought that's kind of where you were going to go with this one, was business. The tyranny, desert, promised land.
It works in business too.
It supplies.
It works in life. Yeah. It works in kids growing up. It works in everything.
I think it just applies to people overall.
I don't know if it's the people or the plan. So if God put a plan out there,
a plan. I doubt your plan. By the way, this seems relevant to something I said to somebody recently. But I was like, if it's so perfect, why does it always have to evolve? Why wouldn't it just stay the same?
That's the perfection of it.
If it was perfect, I would set it down once and it would stay that way.
Well, let's just say the plan is
The plan is to adapt.
that is the plan, and how it evolves in everybody's lives.
I'll tell you what, if I got a perfect plan for a skyscraper, I hope I never have to change it.
Well, the plan you
If I have to change it, that
that's
bitch fell over or something. There's a reason that I gotta change it.
the reason you change is we evolve and we become better. So better. So let's just say the Empire State Building. Right
Better?
now we're
How could you
building
be
it
better than perfect? How could you do that?
perfect at what time?
No, perfect by the entity that laid it down.
Well, so at that time when the Empire State Building was being constructed, it was perfect. Now we have
No,
new
it's not
building
at the time.
materials. We have new
Perfect is
building
timeless.
materials and new building concepts and new plans and designs to make it better.
Okay, okay.
So that's
Is
what I'm talking
perfect
about. The
timeless?
evolve, huh?
Is perfect timeless?
I don't. So if you're talking
Ooh.
about
Ooh.
talking about if you're talking about time, I never thought, what is the greatest superpower in the world? Remember when they were talking about superpowers?
Hmm.
What's the greatest superpower in the world? Who has the greatest superpower out of all of them?
Who has the greatest superpower? I guess if you really wanted to get into like per power, I guess you would guess somebody like a Doctor Strange or somebody like that.
Exactly. The power of time.
Because he had like the
That is
time
the
stone, right?
ultimate power. He had the time stone. He had the
Yeah.
ultimate power.
And he could go
It
back and
doesn't
do
matter if
whatever.
doesn't matter if Superman's coming at him. He could freeze.
Yep. But I'm
You
gonna go
know,
5 minutes ago and just put you in handcuffs and then we're good.
well,
Or
put him.
whatever the hell, right?
If Superman came at him, he'd freeze time. He'd go grab a kryptonite handcuffs, put it on him,
Yep.
and then stand
Yep.
back up again.
Yep.
You know,
Let's just pause. Let's pause
you
this.
can't
Hold
beat
on.
time. You can't beat time. And how he destroyed Moomba. You know, the one at the beginning of the first one. You know, and he just got destroyed time after time after time after time. He suffered in pain time after time after time. And he goes, "You're my prisoner. You are
This is
my
like
prisoner."
this would be like somebody endlessly just falling through the hole. Oh,
Yep.
oh,
Yep. Yep.
oh. Over and
And all he
over.
had to do was make two holes.
You remember?
Whoa, whoa,
Remember
whoa.
He hit Loki like that. Remember? He's like, I've
Yeah.
been falling for the past 10 minutes or whatever he
I think
said.
he said half hour. I've been
What
falling
is
the last
it?
3 months.
Yeah. Could you imagine though? Just falling endlessly for fucking ever.
That's what I'm saying. That's the power of time. I mean,
That's pretty
it's just
cool.
crazy, and you can't argue it. You can't.
So on
Nobody.
on this
Yeah.
order,
What if you're omnipotent? And you can live forever.
a what?
Omnipotent, you live forever. That's time.
Omnipotent?
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
live forever.
that's got to be one of the biggest curses ever, huh?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. I don't want to live forever. You're fucking crazy.
You're right. I'm crazy, but it's got nothing to do with it.
You're right. I still don't want to live forever. Hmm. So on this sequence in that order, right? Something came to mind to me earlier. I was thinking about it, so I wrote
Tyranny,
down.
desert, promised land.
Show me a good man who's the son of a good man. As you won't find them, and I think that's exactly why, because they're robbed of that process. And it has to take a Herculean effort, like a Moses when he's 80 or whatever the fuck it was, right? It took him that long to break free because he was the son of a good man. So it's like, show me a good man who's the son of a good man.
Well, what about the
You
Trumps?
you won't find it. What about what
What about the
Trumps?
Trumps? Donald Trump. You think Donald Trump's a good man?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, why?
Why? Because he's a schmuck.
Why is he a schmuck?
Because he's a money hungry, egotistical, power hungry son of a bitch.
Okay, that's a view. I'm trying to think of something that.
You won't. I'm telling you, you might have to think on this one, but like you won't find them. I've been down this road 10 years ago, dude. You won't find them.
So I would have to say, I disagree with that because I've seen some good men come from good men. So do you remember me telling you about 5 Hour Energy?
A little bit
Yeah,
about
he's a billionaire,
it. Okay.
real nice guy. He was a monk for 7 years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's something that everybody knows about him. And he doesn't like talking about it. I saw a podcast and he goes, no, I don't like talking about it.
He doesn't like talking about it.
Doesn't like talking about the time he was a monk.
Those are some
And,
dark days or something. What the fuck is that?
no, it's something that he holds near and dear. And he doesn't like to
Private.
share because in a public persona, uh, your greatest joys can be used against you.
Well, everybody wants to tear somebody down, so they'll try to latch on to whatever. Crabs in a bucket.
Right, exactly. It's
Misery
always
loves company. All that.
crabs in a bucket. But his son is equally delicious. His name's Sean. I'm not going to give you last names, but Sean. I was talking to Manoj and his wife, and I was saying, I heard you guys give away 95% of your income a year. So yeah, we give it to charity. No. We don't give away 95%. We give away 99% of our
Why?
income a year. Huh?
Why?
Because they're billionaires. They don't need more.
Oh, billion. Oh, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
I
they
guess.
don't
All
need more.
right, all right.
They don't need any more. So they give away. And Manoj started a fund, and his son runs the fund. And he tells me, I don't want to give away too much on this. I'm trying to do this in a delicate way. That he goes around to help out countries. He goes around to help out countries,
Mm-hmm.
right? And one time he said this, it really baked my noodle. It really hurt. He goes, I appreciate the drug lords of Africa. And I just went, you're gonna have to explain that.
Give him the opportunity to do what he does, right?
Well, he when he goes out, I go, how do you protect yourself from going out of the countries? He goes, I protect myself by who I am. They don't know who I am. Nobody knows who I am. Right? And so when he goes out to other countries, he's trying to help them out. People enjoy the help. But he goes, the drug lords of Africa will get out of the way when you pay them. So he has control of the money. And so he says, I want to help out this group, this country in Africa, right? I want to help out the Saudis, South Africa, wherever he wants to concentrate on. But when the drug lords come up and start talking to him, he's like, how much do you want to stay away from me for the time period that I'm here?
Yeah, or
Protect
fucking
me from
ransom,
anything.
basically.
And then they give him a number and he says, fine. And then he can help out the people. And what he does is, I go, what is the help? What are you doing over there? He goes, he kind of, in a nice way, he said, us colonists, us idiots, we're going over there, making them plant corn, the corn that we wanted them to plant because they have to get the corn from us, and it was GMO and it wasn't good. And he goes, all I'm doing is showing them how to change their farming habits, and they can have more than enough food. Just changing their farming habits. And so he goes around to country and changes the farming and digs wells and does all these really cool, crazy things. But he goes, I don't like, and I think they're Indian. And he goes, I don't like India. I'm like, why? He goes, it's a caste system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So your last name delegates where you fall in the hierarchy. And you can't jump up. You can't jump up or down. And I
Not
said,
capitalism.
I said to him, could you have done could your father have done what he did in India? He goes, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You'd have to pay a whole class of people to get something done.
So he just said, no, it can't be done. They're so set in their caste system. They're so set. that they just won't. They just won't.
You know, UK is pretty much the same way.
Oh, UK is. I talked to a bunch of UK guys. They came over to visit me on my boat, and they were like, "Oh no, it's messed up over there." I'm like, "What's wrong?" He goes, "Oh, it's just everything. You know, you can't make any money. It's too expensive. You know, because
Everything is right.
yeah, everything like houses is super expensive. Does it build more? You know what they said? Our country's only so big,
Yeah, they're on an island.
right? And there's countries like Japan too. You know, they've still got more land,
Yeah,
but how much more do they got? You know,
yeah.
it's a little fucked up. You know, with America,
Why?
they're like, how much space? You know what they don't understand? You know what English people don't understand?
How big America is?
No clue.
Yeah, yeah. I
No
heard
clue.
somebody say that a while back. They were talking about, oh, over in Europe, we're so well traveled and so well cultured. We go to all these different countries and this and that. And it's like,
Different
do
languages.
you realize that, like, we do all that too? We just call them states.
No, they don't understand. They
They
don't
don't.
understand.
They
They
don't. And
don't
you didn't
understand.
go to Bulgaria, and you didn't go to Sweden, and you didn't. Now I went to Texas and Washington State. Those are very different places. And North Dakota
Bulgaria,
is completely different from both of those. And
Bulgaria, Sweden, and another country can fit in Texas.
like most of Europe could probably fit in Texas, too. It could probably fit in Alaska, right?
Well, not even include. Yeah, yeah, easy.
Alaska's fucking
America.
huge.
I think America. I'd like to know what the landmass of America and the landmass of Europe is, because it would be a very good. I think it's very close. But
Let's see
all
if
of
I
those
can find it.
countries could
I'll
fit.
tell you what.
Yeah. I don't want the square mileage for each one. And if we get Greenland, oh geez. And I wonder what's gonna. Man, What do you, if you talk? You got any friends in Canada?
Mm,
You want to talk about
My
something
wife
that's
has a
close?
cousin up in Canada.
Do you talk to them?
I don't know. She talks to him every now and then. So it says approximately 79.3% of Europe's land area would fit within the contiguous United States.
How much?
So 80% of Europe would fit in just the US, like the continental
The
US.
continent, not Alaska.
Hmm. So the US is about 20% smaller than Europe. And you haven't even talked
Are you just
about
talking about
Alaska.
the continental? Or are you talking about the entire? Are you talking about
Continental.
Alaska too?
Continental. I'm gonna see if I can find it, including Alaska.
Because I think it'd be bigger.
It could fit in the United States and Alaska with some room to spare.
That's what I thought. That's what
Mhm.
I thought. No, we're so educated or traveled. Like, yeah, right.
Yeah, they treat us like we're retarded. Like, you're so uncultured. You don't go anywhere. I'm like, bitch, we don't need to, dude. This motherfucker's huge. You go to Mississippi, it's gonna be very different from New York, man. It's just
I think Texas to Texas is 12 hours. It's insane. And how many
east to
countries?
west.
It
You
takes
talking?
2 hours to get to Germany or 4 hours to get to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you could travel one end of Texas to the other, and be
Just getting
in
out of Florida. Just getting out of Florida from here is like 4 or 5 hours.
and you're the center.
Yeah, exactly. Actually,
Go to the
northern
Keys. Go to
center.
the Keys to the go to the Keys to
Right.
Tallahassee.
Miami to Tallahassee or something. Yeah.
Not Miami. I'm
I mean, not
Keys. Go to the
Tallahassee.
Keys.
Miami to Jacksonville or something, right? Mhm.
Miami to what is it? What is the one on the far corner? The
On the right side, coastal.
on the left side.
Oh, that's Tallahassee.
Well, it's keep it past Tallahassee.
Oh, past. There's a few spots past there, but
Oh God, one of my flipping buddies.
like Pensacola maybe or something. I don't know.
Pensacola.
Yeah.
Pensacola. Find out what the keys are to Pensacola.
Nah, that's all right. I know it's forever. It's fucking half the trip of Europe. I don't fucking know.
It is. You go through four countries. You go through four countries going from there, and you haven't left. You haven't left Florida.
But I still don't think it's possible. I have dug and dug. Show me a good man who's a son of a good man. And
Really?
I don't think it's possible because I think they're robbed of that process. They don't have the desert. They only have the promised land. They only have tyranny that they accept.
Well, some parents can be the tyranny.
That's what I'm saying. The tyranny would basically be the structure with which you exist in.
Well, what do you? So let's just say the Trumps are good people. Let's just say
Uh,
there's a family. I'm
but
just using Trump's as
that's a
as the one
terrible
that is.
example.
I know it is. Let's say they're good people. Trump's working for free to fix our country, and his
Okay.
kids are working with him. So
Okay.
let's just say I'm trying to think of somebody else that is more neutral. He's more of a polarizing character.
Storos?
Mm,
He's polarizing.
yeah, I'm trying less polarizing.
Less
Who would you
polarizing.
say that there's a good person that
Schumer.
everybody's
What the hell's his name? Schumer, right? The Congress guy? What
not
the hell is his name?
not in politics?
Okay.
I would say Musk until he went into politics because
Say
now he's
Arnold? I don't know.
there. You go, Arnold. Let's go with Arnold and his kids.
Okay.
Is Arnold a good man?
I'm not sold on either way.
Well, then it's hard to prove to you. So I think his
Yeah.
kids are good kids too. Because you know who married, Chris Pratt married Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter.
Chris Pratt did?
Hmm.
Mm. No, I didn't know that.
Hmm. And he says, I play chess with Arnold. Trust me, he's no joke.
Yeah. He's gonna in his chess game is gonna be like, fuck your freedoms.
Yeah, you're right. So I don't. Yeah, fuck your freedoms.
Yeah,
Talking
that's what
from
makes me hesitant. Shit like that.
yeah, yeah, I got what you're saying. I
mm.
don't. Yeah, fuck your freedoms. I remember him saying that when the punching bag.
Dude, that is the worst line of his whole life. He said it the wrong place, wrong time, wrong motherfucker, man.
And I know he's not Australian. He's Argentina. What is he?
He's Austrian.
Austrian. Thank you. Not Australian. He's Austrian, but he sounded like fucking German at that time.
Well, that's
Fuck your freedoms.
basically the same thing.
Type in Deutsch. Oh, dude, you know, nay, 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 nay,
Yeah,
nay, nay.
wrong country, motherfucker.
Yeah, we've heard something like that before. What happened to that motherfucker?
Yeah, it
And it
didn't go
was
so
funny.
well. Didn't go so well.
I think he got a cap in the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that Hitler, is living and they just killed a? Come
Well,
on,
Argentina, right? Argentina.
yeah, think about that. If you had a dude, so each one of those guys have doppelgangers or lookalikes or dummies, right? And they do certain things, right? Each one of those, like Saddam Hussein did too. He had lookalikes, and what they do is, you have a lookalike, and you go here and you go here. And what if they had a lookalike and you put a big enough gun to the back of the head, the front of the face doesn't show. You know what I mean?
If you kill the double, but you kill it in a way that it's unrecognizable.
Mm-hmm. Because think about this. If you shoot
Well,
from
clearly he
far,
wouldn't be alive still, but did he make the
right.
escape? Is the kind of the question, right?
Well, if I were him, I would do that instead.
Well, the
Yeah.
whole dude, all kinds of them went to South America and stuff. There's all kinds of like German towns and stuff in South America where they just kind of keep to themselves or whatever.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just
Yeah.
low profile. Change your hair, change your face. Get a. If you got that kind of money, you can change your face. I don't care if they put a bulbous fucking
I
head.
mean, they did disguises long before they were actually changing faces.
Hmm. I'm sure doctors could fucking do something back then. But that would be a weird concept that he lived the rest of his life and nobody.
I don't think he could, just based off of his ego alone.
Well, his ego was checked on a different level.
Was it though?
Yes.
Usually people like this, socialists. So what do the socialists always say? We're not wrong. Socialism just wasn't really tried yet.
That is the most egocentrical statement I've ever. Everybody else has done it wrong, but you got the right idea. That
Well,
is
no,
the most
a lot of them.
egocentrical statement. I'm talking about ego.
Well, they claim that it
Ego
hasn't
is
been
not your
tried yet.
amigo.
Is usually their claim. They claim, no, that's not real socialism. They did it, but they didn't do it the way I'm thinking of. They're never wrong. That's kind of my point. Even Hitler, he probably thinks Nazism wasn't wrong. It just got off the rails a little bit.
Well, obviously it was wrong. Evidentially, it's wrong.
But these people are in denial. They're never gonna come to that.
That's the most egocentric. Ego is not your amigo. Trust me when I tell you that. Ego is not your amigo.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I get tired of people doing that. Everybody wants to demonize the ego anymore, and it frustrates me.
Ego can be your worst enemy.
Or your greatest superpower.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we're going to disagree.
Okay, let's do it because this is a hill I'm dying on.
Let me pull out the machine gun.
Hey, let's go. I'll pull out my 1992 riot armor.
Riot armor, 1992.
Remember that when they held up the bank or whatever? Those two guys.
The gun got shot out of his hand. So you're talking.
He said, "I don't give a shit. I'm still going."
For the people that don't know, in 1992 there was this bank robbery, and these guys had full body.
Oh man, they were kitted up, boy.
Different fucking level. So these guys have video. Check it out online. The bank robbery in 1990, was it 99 or 92?
I don't know. 92 rings a bell in my head, but it could have been. It was in the 90s somewhere.
In the 90s, and these guys were just fucking walking. And
through bullets,
shooting at
walking through bullets, man.
Unloading, and the cops literally were like, "We're out of bullets." The entire force ran out of bullets, shooting these guys. They went to a store, a gun store that was nearby, and got higher powered weapons to take these guys out. Anything the police had at that time was ineffective. Yeah. And this guy was shooting back at him, and the gun got shot out of his hand. He went back and picked up the gun and started shooting again. That body armor was insane. Hands, feet, head, face, everything was protected.
Like the original Iron Man.
And then what they end up getting is, I think I don't think they talked about it too terribly much. I think they got a couple 50 cals from a gun store, and they just they got them out by blunt force.
Hard to beat a BMG.
Oh, that's a 50 cal. If a 50 cal actually hit him without his body armor on, it would cut him in half.
But it's sever his body. It's almost like a shotgun, almost at that point.
It's the inertia on the impact. It just tear you apart. You can probably tear you apart going fast enough.
That's the impact, Yep.
It was insane when I saw that. So let's go back to the ego is not your amigo. So let's give you scenarios.
So many people demonize the ego, and I get so pissed off about it.
Why?
Because even there was one jiu-jitsu house I was going into with a friend of mine's down there training or whatever, and I was talking to the instructor down there, and he's talking about there's no ego. I'm like, why would you say that? Like, I know what you're saying. Like, don't hurt people because you want to be think you're some tough guy or some shit. But you know what it is? People just beat this fucking ego down. And the ego is the same thing inside you that wants you to be number one.
Well,
and that is not necessarily a bad thing. I get in a lot of debates with people about this stuff. No. An ego is not a bad thing. An out of control ego is a bad thing.
So can you strive for greatness without ego? You're taking self out.
No. I would say no.
I would say yes, because you're taking self out of it.
Can you strive for greatness without trying to improve yourself? Is that what you're saying?
No, not improve yourself. Ego doesn't improve you. Ego doesn't. The strive for perfection improves you, but your ego.
That is ego.
I'm a badass motherfucker on the way there.
The strive for perfection is ego.
No, I disagree. That's where I think
The
that's
same thing I said at the beginning, the same thing that wants you to be number one is your ego.
so I think you're conflating. We'd have to look at the definition.
No,
It's
I'm
the
actually
same.
sick of the definition on this word because I know what the fuck it is, and everybody wants to fucking manipulate it to fit their needs.
Well, you said and say what you said again now, one more time.
The ego is the same thing inside you that wants you to be number one.
That's where I think we differ. That's the stride for getting to be number one, right? That's not ego. Ego is I am number one.
Ego is
And
a
in
process. It's
martial
not just
arts,
a validation.
in martial arts, I guarantee you, there is no number one.
You don't only have ego once you've achieved it. You have ego through the whole process.
See, that's where I've noticed because of I think I can speak on this a little bit is going through the process of becoming number one at something. Ego
There's a
is
whole lot
not
of ego
helpful.
there.
Yeah, that's where I disagree. Ego is not helpful. So if ego, I'm
I
number
just
one. Let me give you a scenario. If I'm going to any event, becoming number one. I went to the Arnold Schwarzenegger Sports Festival. I went to the U.S. Open. I went to here. I went to here, and I tried to prove myself through the whole thing. Ego is stepping into. So here's my definition of ego: stepping into that event, saying I'm number one.
But that's not a fact. That's an opinion.
But that's
That's
ego.
a that's an unproven. That's like
That's not ego.
that's a desire.
That's ego, though. That's an ego saying that. Your ego is saying I'm number one.
But it's a lie
Right.
because you don't know it.
Right.
But the ego is the thing
It's
inside
a
you that wants
liar.
you.
Your ego can be a liar.
Oh no.
Just like when you stepped in the jujitsu ring. Now, you explain to me the jujitsu ring where it says there's no ego.
I would see that more as like a false confidence than an ego.
An ego is a false confidence, not real. Is ego
The
real?
ego isn't real.
It's a false confidence. God, I
It's
can see the smoke coming out of your ears.
the burning desire. That's your
I
ego.
think you're confusing. I think you're confusing the path to progress with ego. And ego
The ego
is
is the
just the
thing
definition.
inside you that wants to be number one. It wants to make you number one. That is all ego.
I don't think it's. Here's where our definitions differ. You say it wants you. Your ego wants you to be number one. I'm saying your ego is something that says you're number one.
But you can only get validation through results, not through
Right.
opinion.
And guaranteed in martial arts,
If
there's
you
no.
win number one, then your ego can then say that to you.
But you're saying the process.
I think
That's what I'm
ego
saying.
is there. Ego is there from the
Let's
beginning.
take the
Ego is
let's
there
take the
from
first place out of
childhood.
it.
Ego is there. Huh?
Let's take the first place out of it.
Okay.
Right? You're talking about the
Okay.
path to get there.
Ego is the thing that wants you to win
You're
then.
conflating the ego is I'm number one with the drive to get you to number one.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
No, that's where our differential is. So that's why I'm going to say, look up the word ego and what does it say? What is the definition of ego?
Fine, we'll take somebody else retarded person version of ego.
Well, it's just we gotta. I
This
see
is one of those words that gets skewed so
our
much
definitional
depending on
differences.
who writes it.
Our
The part of the
definition.
psyche that mediates between the conscious mind and the world, acting as a bridge between the individual's desires and the realities of the world. Interesting. So they're considering it a bridge between the two things that we're talking about.
That's not helpful. I need a definition between yours and mine. So the bridge is not. I need a
In
definition side
everyday
by side.
language, ego often describes a person's sense of self-worth, which apparently you don't find important. Sometimes used to mean a strong or inflated sense of one's own importance, which would be
A
which
strong or
would
inflated. There's my definition.
sometimes used to mean a strong or inflated sense of one's own importance. This sounds
So
like
that's
pompous. Sense of one's own importance is pompous, right?
well. The definition
That's
is
not ego.
But it's saying that's the
It's
definition.
an
It's
out
not.
of control ego. That's what I said at the
Right.
beginning.
But that's what people define it as.
No, yes, because everybody sees the toxic part of it, the out of control part. And so they demonize it. This is the part where it fucks me all up because they demonize the same part that governs your self worth. So they say, fuck your ego. You're right. I shouldn't have any self worth.
No, they're not saying.
See how funny it is?
I'm separating. I want to separate ego and self worth.
You can't.
Yeah, you can.
You can't.
Why am I looking down? Oh, I was looking at the screen. So
You can't.
that's where I say you're not gonna get any martial artist with any fucking validity to say ego is good.
I know, because they're only thinking about the toxic part of it. Same people that want to say other shit about toxic masculinity. That makes all masculinity bad? No, it makes the toxic shit bad.
It's really we're talking.
But that negative shit sticks in people's minds because they've seen somebody with a toxic ego. And there's also people with healthy egos that nobody ever thinks about. That's the shit that pisses me off because it is, like it says right here. In everyday language, ego often describes a person's sense of self-worth. And if you allow nobody in the gym to have an ego, then nobody in the gym will have an inch of self-worth. By definition, since you want to define it.
I kind of like that. I kind of like that. In martial arts, yes. So what is people coming into martial arts to learn?
Everything.
How to fight, how to live. It's a way of life.
Well, maybe they're going there for discipline.
They're going there for a bunch of things. So what martial
That's
arts?
not everything. It's kind of multi.
Yeah, you're 100% right. I want to try and define it in the best way. So what I've seen with all of my students is people come in with lower egos, lower self-worth. We'll go lower self-worth, no balance, no fortitude, right? Martial arts brings that all up in people. So whatever you're lacking, let's say you're low confidence, and then it brings up your confidence, and then it brings up. So I think confidence and balance and fortitude are the three greatest things that martial arts teaches somebody. So
I think discipline is kind of the biggest one.
Discipline is the process of doing it.
Because I've seen Rogan talk about this, and he's so right with the discipline thing. The martial arts taught him, and I think it teaches everybody more than anything, is that your practice of whatever you do is just a vehicle. It's a vehicle to show you that when you stick with something that you can get better at anything. And once you learn that, then you can take that anywhere. But that's all through discipline.
Mm-hmm.
That's all through discipline. Once you realize that you can get something and stick with something, it's a vehicle for you to realize that you can build on it, learn from it, expand on it, be good at something, this and that. And then you take that muscle and you apply that to other shit in your life, and it fucking starts working out.
So, are you going to define ego and self-worth is one?
I'm just saying off the definition. That's all.
Well, they said it's a bridge between the two, which I don't like.
Well, okay, one more time. In psychology, ego refers to the part of the psyche that mediates between the conscious mind and the world, acting as a bridge between the individual's desires, the id, and the realities of the world, the superego. In everyday language, ego often describes a person's sense of self-worth, sometimes used to mean a strong or inflated sense of one's own self-importance, which inflated sense of one's own self-importance is
You're saying that people have negative connotations on ego, and you want to have a more positive,
healthy ego. Healthy
self-worth. Why can't you just say self-worth instead of ego? Because ego's so you're trying to
because ego has been so bastardized.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why.
So
just like masculinity, I want masculinity not to be bastardized as well.
I agree with that. I don't. I think that's.
Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Is this called a mouse?
That's a mouse.
That's a mouse. We all define, once we define something, it's the collective defines what this is.
Until the government changes the definition of vaccine or fucking.
We all know what the definitions are. We all know what the definitions are. I found out the actual vaccines themselves aren't even fucking working.
Yeah, I know.
Craziest stats in the world. Let's not get
I've been on it a lot lately.
Let's get into the definition. So ego is generally a negative term. If all the world
No,
thinks if all
no.
the world thinks ego is a negative term, and you think ego is a positive term, who's wrong?
I don't know if the whole world right now currently thinks that masculinity is a bad term.
No, it doesn't. No, no.
Bullshit.
Oh, bullshit.
Bullshit. They've only taught it
Bullshit.
in schools for the past 20 years.
Well, the Soros is the one you're
Oh,
talking
but the whole
about.
world thinks it, so it must be right, right?
Huh? No,
I'll
it's
just
over
let the
there.
invaders in.
Listen,
Just let them do what they want. We don't want to be masculine. We don't want to tell people what to do. I don't care if they're beheading baby. I don't want to tell people. I don't want to be mean.
you're conflating the U.S. versus the world. The whole world enjoys masculinity. If you want to get a wife, if I were divorced today, I would go in an Asian country, probably Thailand, and get a fucking girl and bring her back. There's no fucking way I would deal with anything that's over here right now. But I noticed that in my age bracket, they're more feminine and they're more women. In your age bracket and below,
You're fucking crazy.
they're not crazy. They've been
Oh, they're
lied to
just
by
emotionally
they've been lied to by the
manipulated.
Soroses. They've been lied to by the Soroses. The Soroses started feminine.
Oh, they started tweaking definitions, did they?
Huh? They started tweaking definitions. No, not at all. So no, what they started to
Yeah.
do is they started to poison. And I don't think this is really a political party. What I think this is really, God and the enemy. So God and the
Well, he
enemy
could say
is
that
Trump.
about everything. You know what, Jesse Lee Peterson, right?
Jesse Lee Peterson,
The black guy?
the little guy.
Yeah.
I love that dude.
I
That dude is the
understand.
most
But
honest
what
motherfucker.
you're talking about, though, is he doesn't even believe in racism. For coming from Alabama, coming from the plantation, he does not believe in racism. And it speaks to the same thing that you're talking about. I actually had this thought a day or two ago. And everything in today and history could be summed up as just good versus evil, really.
I don't
Because
disagree.
he doesn't believe there's racist people. He believes there's good people and there's evil people.
Yes, I agree with that. And he's right. And that's what I've noticed. And
And
like
that's
you
the
said,
forever fight.
that's the battle between God, angels, and demons.
Well,
So,
whatever. But yeah, I think it's the battle between weak men and strong men, really.
well, the process of weak men and strong men. You
Yep.
know, weak men create
Here we
strong
are,
men.
gender
And
war
here
and
we are in this
full
process.
swing.
But I think we're at the apex of the weak men becoming strong.
You sure hope so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But like I've noticed, when, dude,
I don't think you.
let me crack open some biblical problems on you. So, good and evil, the battle between good and evil is the whole reason we're here. This is an 80-year mission trip. I call it an 80-year mission trip to battle between good and evil. So God made a plan, right? The plan is great. Man, woman, make kids, create this creation, right? It's an amazing process, right? And I've done the being a boy, becoming a man, taking a wife, having kids, and doing it that way. And that way is fucking awesome. That way is the best. If you do it right with the right person, it's beyond comprehensional awesome. It
It
really
hits
is.
all your primal chords.
Well, that's the plan. We'll say that. Now, who's battling against God's plan is the enemy, right? And if you look at some of the demons'
Weak
descriptions,
men. Weak men.
weak men follow. Well, I don't know if it's weak men or evil men.
It's the
Let's go
same.
back to let's go to the Peterson guy.
One and the same.
Let's go to the Peterson guy. If you look at Moloch, Moloch is a demon, and in the description of him is he has horns, he has a horse-like face, and he has a female top and a male bottom. Right? Let's talk about let's talk about gender confusion now. Who do you think's the demon of gender confusion right now? Moloch. Moloch it also has child sacrifice. They had a statue of him.
Who is the demon of what? Gender confusion?
Well, he has a goat face, female chest, male bottom, and so
So he could just be
if
summed
a
up as
demon,
lies.
so it says in the good book that it says in the good book that your battles aren't against people, it's against principalities, which is the demons.
Ideas almost, right?
Yeah, principalities. And Moloch is the child sacrifice god, right?
Mm.
So he has hands out like this. They have a fire under his brass arms, right? And they would sacrifice babies into his arms on top of the fire. That was child sacrifice. The baby would scream. They would drum louder to drown out the screams of the baby. How sadistic! Now, if you're God and you're
Oh
watching,
my God, dude.
let's have the flood and get rid of this and start over again. You know what I'm saying? But this is a practice back in the day by the pagans, and Moloch was
I'm sure
their
it still
god, but
goes
he was
on
actually a
somewhere.
demon. Now, if you go back, here's the one that baked my fucking noodle recently. Um, this one priest, those priests sit on the corner and show abortions or something like that. And they want to be the
Mm.
shock and awe of the world and blah 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 blah. And
Mm.
one of them was just sitting there and he goes, we think abortion is wrong. And the girl goes, why do you think it's wrong? He goes, well, it's child sacrifice. And I thought about it. I'm like, holy shit! I knew I didn't like abortions, but now I understand why I don't like it.
You've never thought
It's
about that.
child sacrifice. It's just killing the baby inside the womb instead of outside the womb.
Yeah.
It's child sacrifice. And she goes, what is it sacrificing it to? Whatever you're getting the abortion for. I can't afford it. You're sacrificing for money. I don't want to be with the guy. You're sacrificing the kid for relationship.
I give you one.
Whatever you're going into that reason for is the child sacrifice. And once I heard that, so it's like you said, it's not Republican, Democrat, it's good and evil. It
Yeah.
really is good and evil.
Yep. Because they live on
It's
both
very
sides.
important.
Good and evil live on both sides. They're complaining about the woke. They're complaining about the woke right now. You seen all that?
The woke right.
Mm-hmm.
What's
Yeah,
the
you've
woke
been out
right?
of the loop. You were all paying attention when you were going against the woke left until Trump got in, and then he stopped paying attention. And that seems to be what
Oh,
a
he
lot of
outlawed
people
it.
are doing.
He outlawed it. He outlawed
You
it.
know, there's a woke right that's creeping in. It's all identity politics, this super nationalism stuff, and this and that.
I haven't seen that yet. I got to see it.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson's on the rails about it. This is the stuff I was telling you about. Everybody with the Hodgtons are calling him. He's still on there talking about psychopaths this, psychopaths that.
Do you think we need psychopaths?
Absolutely not. Well,
You don't think
maybe.
so?
Maybe it keeps us honest, right?
Well, think about this. Think about this. Every one of our tier one operators, every one of them is a psychopath. The
Yeah,
mission
yeah.
is more important than their own body.
I don't know if that's a psychopath, but
That's the definition of a psychopath.
no, that could be a definition of a leader.
No, the mission is more important than your own body. No,
Really?
no.
That could not be a
Listen,
definition of a
listen.
leader.
Huh?
That could not be a definition of a leader, huh?
Well, if you die in battle, you can't do any good.
Leaders eat last. Same thing.
Leaders can eat last, but they're still going to live.
But they're sacrificing for the other.
Well, sacrifice is good. But
And that's exactly, you said that they're psychopaths because they're sacrificing their body, but
you're talking about sacrificing a meal. I'm talking about sacrificing their life.
if you live in that world, it's no different.
That's where I disagree. See, each one of the tier one operators think they're coming back.
As they should, or they wouldn't have any ego.
So, do you think tier one operators have egos?
Absolutely.
You'd have to talk. I want you to talk to a tier one operator.
Sure.
All right. Let's find any tier one operators and have a conversation about that because I would love to be a tier one operator.
We could talk about the thing in them that wants them to be a badass.
Right. And then I want them to explain it to you because apparently you ain't listening to me.
What am I missing? What am I missing then?
That first place trophy. Well, so when a tier one operator says nobody in the SEALs have egos,
impossible.
Then you'll realize that the ego is a bad thing.
Every human alive has an ego.
I'm not just. I get it, but not in that. So ego
You're
and ego
talking
are
about
not
team over self, and you can't have an ego. I disagree.
team over self.
Yeah,
That is the Navy SEALs way.
that's the all military personnel's way, really.
Right. So ego is I'm supposed to be important. I'm supposed to do the best.
No,
I'm
no,
supposed
no.
to
You're twisting this up. It's the
I
same
know
thing I
that's what
said
ego
before
is.
when people have asked me, said, well, do you like going to work? I said, well, yes. Like, well, why do you even like going? It doesn't even make sense. Because my ego tells me that it's fucking awesome when I go make money for my family. It makes me feel great.
Mhm.
That's what my ego tells me because I'm properly aligned. My ego is aligned with what I want, and what I
Your
want is
values.
aligned
Your
with what
ego's
I
aligned with
should
your
be doing.
values.
It's
So
all
you're
aligned. In this way, my ego sets me up for success.
Mm, I got work to do with you. So let's have a tier one operator. And if anybody listening to this knows a tier one operator, I wanna have an interview with him because I guarantee you he will say the exact opposite of what you're saying.
I don't. I think it does. Your ego wants to win. It wants you to be number one. And if that
No, not
comes
everybody can be
with
number one.
with
And in a gym, in the jiu-jitsu gym, in a karate gym, do you think wanting to be number one is a good thing?
absolutely,
Ah,
you don't think wanting to be number one is a good thing?
I've never done it.
You don't assume you'll reach perfection, but that doesn't mean you don't try.
But that's my point. Trying is not ego.
Huh?
Trying is not ego. So
You
how
think ego is just the final product, apparently.
you're the conflated ego that is said in the definition is probably the worst thing I've ever seen.
The out of
I'm
control ego is
I'm
terrible.
well,
But out
yeah,
of control masculinity is terrible.
yeah, but
Out
there's
of,
hold
out of
on. There's
control out
there's
of
there's
control
controlled
femininity is
masculinity.
terrible.
There's controlled masculinity. That
Out of control femininity is terrible.
yes,
It's
agreed.
all it's all the same. It's anything, and he said balance is one of the most important things. Out of control anything is not balance.
But I don't think I had an ego, and everybody said when I was when I was competing and when I go to the open, they say you're not you're not you're the kind of people want to be around in this space. And I thought that was one of the greatest compliments I've ever heard. Because
You
if I had an ego, I don't think that would have happened.
I got something for you. So I'm just gonna presumption this, but you can knock back whatever. You don't think that ego and humility can exist at the same time, do you? Yeah, bake your fucking noodle. There you go.
Can ego.
You don't think they can coexist. That's kind of what I'm gathering.
Ego is just a worldwide negative term.
But it shouldn't be.
I know what you're saying.
But
It's
masculinity is a
definition.
worldwide bad term too, because before, if you really dive into the psyche,
No,
you'll
it's
get the
not. It's
ego.
not a
But
worldwide.
surface
It's worldwide.
level,
The
if you
rest of
talk,
the world
if you
love
talk to
masculinity.
people, if you talk to people about surface level, they're gonna blame masculinity for all of the problems. If you dive into the psyche, then you'll get to the ego and this and that, right?
I can't say. I
But like I
can't say
said,
ego.
toxic femininity is just as big of a problem.
Agreed. So
It's
toxic everything is bad.
everything.
Well, let's agree that toxic everything is bad.
No, I want your answer. I want to know if you think that ego and humility can coexist.
I think not at
'Cause
the
I
same
don't, I
time.
don't think the way it's coming off, at least, I don't think you think they can coexist. And most people that
How about
paint the
this?
ego with a
How about
negative
this?
brush,
But how about this? They can't exist at the same time.
I disagree.
You can be humble, or you can have an ego.
I think I
And
want to kick ass, and if I want to kick ass for my team, I think that's a form of humility.
that's not humility. That's ego. You want to kick ass.
I want to
Why?
kick ass as ego.
Why?
But if I want to kick ass for my team or my family, or I want to bring home dinner tonight, I want to be a badass at bringing home dinner for everybody. There's some humility in there because it's not all about you.
That's ego. And that's where, and I've noticed that's when people fail the most.
Okay, so
When
maybe do
you're,
you
let's say
think
you go in with, let's say you go with an ego and you lose. Now you're shot and fucking hurt. Your ego's destroyed, and you're not being humble.
it's
If you
not
go into
destroyed,
a
it's
fight,
wounded.
huh? It's
It's not
destroyed.
destroyed, it's wounded.
Destroyed. Destroyed.
Wounded. It's wounded. It's coming back, don't worry.
Let me know if you notice any orbs around me because I wanna capture those again. That was awesome, dude. I got 8 minutes of fucking orbs around me. Don't forget.
I know. You're very happy about this.
Huh?
So I know you're very happy about this.
This is crazy. But I was doing this and I was looking when it all started is when I was pounding on my fucking desk. And that's when the orbs started coming around.
It's the same, talking about femininity out of control is bad. Masculinity out of control is bad.
But can
Empathy,
ego and
empathy,
humility,
empathy out of control is bad. And that's kind of what's taking over the world right now. Suicidal empathy.
yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that.
So
But
all these
ego,
things taken to their extremes are bad. Ego is no different. Taken to its extreme, yeah, it's not good. But there is a
okay,
healthy range.
you agree that ego taken to an extreme is bad.
Absolutely.
So can ego at an extreme and humility exist together?
No, anything at its extreme is kind of probably on its own.
There you go. So that's where I agree with you. So your definition of ego, you can say there's good ego and bad ego. Everybody else says ego is bad because they think of it as the extreme, in as extreme.
They're throwing the
In,
baby
in, a,
out with the
in a
bathwater.
jujitsu in a jujitsu school, I
Mm.
guarantee you that is the worst fucking thing. If you think you're the best, there's you're gonna go through a bunch of people until you find the guy to kick your ass.
Good.
And him, if it's not right, then your ego goes in check.
Good.
Humility comes through. So what's more important, ego or humility?
That's a
Ooh,
great question.
I know. You
Uh,
hit me with can ego and humility exist, and I was baking my noodle. I don't think they can exist at the same time. So you can
I
have
definitely
ego,
think they
and
can. But
humility takes over as soon as you get your ass kicked.
what's more important?
What's more important?
Oh man, without ego, you
No,
don't get try. Without like too much humility is bad too. People don't think about that because
no,
you could
I think
crush
about
your
that.
self worth with too much humility.
Well, I've when I've seen humility, when I've seen humility displayed, is usually at the highest levels of competition.
You know
So
what? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like the timid man. It says, "Why won't you go talk to the girl? You don't like girls?" Like, no, you don't get it. I love the girl so much that I don't even want to burden her with myself because I have that much humility.
yeah, but that's
But
not
that's a negative low point of humility, though. It's kind of the
you. I see your point. A low ego is good,
it's crushing if you have too much humility.
and a high ego can be bad.
Right. It's
I'm sorry.
balance.
I'm sorry. A low ego is good, and a high humility can be bad. But you got to understand when I see humility, it's usually on stage, and all the cameras are looking at you. I don't see where I competed in all the competitions. I've only seen one guy lose his cool, and he was a low level at the time. He was a low level guy, and he screwed everything up. Humility is displayed at the upper echelon of everything. I'm going to say sports, business,
Well,
relationships. Humility is displayed. Why is humility displayed and not ego when you're at the top?
because that's what leaders possess more than anything.
Winners,
Leaders.
winners too,
Yeah, yeah. But this
right?
is my favorite
So
people in
I
the,
don't.
one of my favorite people in the world. One of my favorite people in the world, Jocko, has said this, and I completely agree. But humility trumps all.
Right. So can I say humility is more important than ego?
It's just like gas and brake. I would assume the brake is more important than the gas pedal. Because the gas pedal will drive you into a wall. Even if you have your foot on the brake and go nowhere, at least you didn't kill yourself.
I'd have to agree with all of that. I'd have to
Yeah,
agree with all
okay, so I will tell you this. Okay, in this scenario, you're kind of painting with the jujitsu world, right? And the competing. I could see myself with my ego all fired up, fired up, fired up. I'm fucking fired up. I'm ready to go in there and blast this shit. I got this. And then I lose. I can still have all that ego, and at the end of that, say, good for you.
that. That's humility.
I can have both of those, though.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But can they exist at the same
But
time?
I can
Are you
have that
gonna
ego.
are you gonna be humble?
I can have an ego drive, like, yeah, like that shit, right? But I can still, when it's over, it's the good sportsmanship thing, right? It's like some of that. I can still
Humility.
at the end say, "Good for you."
Yep. And everybody that does interviews and stuff like that. I didn't do too many interviews, and nobody ever stuck a microphone in my face when I was competing. But I always hear him say, it's the greatest competition, and I appreciate the people bringing their best. And in in my sport, it's really it's God, I don't want to say it's the most humbling, but
Well,
it's
getting your ass kicked is pretty humbling.
yeah, getting your ass kicked is pretty humbling. But I'll never forget this one announcer. We were setting up for an event, and an event is, let's say, everybody likes creative breaking. I've never been a fan of creative breaking. And you put up coconuts, baseball bats, and 2x4s, and break all this kind of crazy cool stuff. And you have to have holders,
Mm,
right? And it's usually the competitors are holding for the other competitors.
right.
Nowhere else in sports do you see a
Oh, a
competitor
competitor helping their opponent?
helping another competitor. And
Yeah, that's
the
weird.
way I described it is, I want, and when I'm holding something, or I'm racing on something, I'm trying to do the best I can. So this guy brings his best fucking game. So when I beat him, I deserved it. So if I held the board and he hit it and I let flex in it and he didn't break that and he hits again, and he misses, and he hits again and breaks it, and the judges knew I was doing it. You know what I mean?
It's
Then
reflective on you. Yeah.
right? It looks bad on me, right? But it's still, I want that guy to bring his best. So if I win, I deserved it.
Yeah,
Does
that's a
that make
weird
sense?
scenario. You don't ever really see
It's
that.
one of
That's
the
like
it's
team.
one of
That's
the
like the
least
Olympics. The Olympics, Team China is helping Team USA set up for an event, and then Team USA is helping Team Switzerland. Like that's weird, very
It
weird.
is weird. It is a weird dynamic. And then the announcer at the time was saying, "Yeah, this is pretty much what we do, and it's the only part in sports where people are trying to help out the other people win."
Yeah. Well, I hope you reconsider because I think the whole goddamn world should reconsider because I get so tired of hearing it. It's just everybody wants to throw the baby ego out with the baby bathwater. Everybody
Right.
wants to. And I get why. But on some
Right.
level,
It's a
have
nonsense.
you ever met somebody with like zero ego and too much humility? It's not healthy either. Have a very poor view of themselves, have a very poor life, they have a very poor outlook on the world. It's not good. It's not good.
You're thinking humility is being great and being humble. You're thinking humility makes you not great.
No, humility is you getting beyond yourself, your own personal desires and things. It's what this is in a way. This is the what I kind of have this character I guess in my head, but the old little Christian lady who does for everybody. She'll go to every event and pitch in and help and everything else, and then she goes home to her studio apartment in the hood and has barely enough money to eat food, but she's helping other people all the time. She has
You know.
plenty of humility. She has too much humility.
So that's a white life worth living. Then someone in the good book, it says, "Unbeknownst to you, you've entertained angels," and she would be considered an angel.
That's fine, but it doesn't help her eat at night, and it doesn't help her osteoporosis and getting around and going to medical doctor. It doesn't help her life. She's pouring into other people's cup, but nobody's pouring into hers.
Yeah, that's an angel.
Okay, well, I bet you she doesn't fucking feel like it on a day-to-day basis.
I'm sure she's rewarded in heaven.
Okay, and you can, whatever, but you can also say then, like I said before, that doing things for other people is a selfish endeavor.
That's where I disagree.
Because
I
she'll
think
be high on the fact that she was giving and helping and everything else. You know this. You've agreed with this. You're backpedaling. But helping other people is a selfish endeavor. Mark Twain line said, if you want to cheer yourself up, the fastest way is to try to cheer someone else up.
Mhm.
It's a selfish endeavor.
Well, I think. Do you think people do things selflessly?
I don't know. That's a really good question. Because there's a certain line of thinking out there that says all people are moved by uh, their personal wants, whether that be family, career. I want this taco from the store, so I get it. I don't know. Just
I noticed that wanting or having is not as pleasurable as wanting.
mm. Well, the old Socrates line says life is less about wanting what or having what you want and wanting what you have.
That's the definition of happiness. So everybody in America has something. Even the
I
homeless
guess
guys.
I don't even like
You-
that though, because that's like a complacency thing you're trying to tie happiness to. My dad has
What
been on me about this for fucking 20 years probably, but
what
that's
is
kind of
what
his
is
line.
what is his education that you're trying to deny?
Deny? I'm not denying. That's
You don't
just his.
agree. You said he's been trying to push this on me.
Yes,
What's his concept?
life is less about having what you want and more about wanting what you have. It's kind of his push.
That's a very good point. What I like to say is, it's all said differently, and I like to say happiness is a choice. You either choose to be happy or not. The extreme circumstances in life is pretty much irrelevant, right? There's people in prison that have nothing and they're happy, and there's
Well,
people that are billionaires that are sad.
yeah.
So having something does not make you happy. And like my wife goes, and this might be good for you. My wife would say, "I'm not happy." And I'm like, "Okay." And she goes, "You're not going to try and make me happy?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. Happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy or not. Anything
I
I do
think
or say is not going." And I explained to her, I said, "If you put your happiness in my hands, I will drop the ball every fucking time."
when you externalize it, yeah. So say happiness is free, but pleasure is expensive.
I don't know, man. Can you please yourself walking in the park?
Of course.
It's not expensive.
Well, you better have some good porn with you.
And you heard, hey, dude, let's take a break for a minute. Let's see if I can get some more orbs around me. I gotta use the restroom.
Okay, there's approaching 8 here, so that's a good place. We did a hour and a half. We're good.
Okay, you want to call it a ball?
Yeah,
All right, great job. We gotta find a good sign off.
it's a good sign off.
Me or you? Let's get this ball rolling.
Don't throw the baby ego out with the baby bathwater.
Don't throw the baby ego out with a humility. They don't match.
Balance, balance.
Balance Miyagi-san.
That's what
Oh,
we're
there's a
looking
new
for.
Karate Kid movie coming out too with Ralph Macchio.
Is there?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
I'll be the first idiot at the movies.
Nah, yeah, that was you, wasn't it? That was you. When you were a
Yeah,
kid, that was you. That was your time. That was your era. That was you right
oh
there.
yeah, that was me. That was me. And Did I send you the video on that my guy put together about how I was doing research back in the '80s when John Claude Van Damme did Kickboxer, and then I saw him hold up a belt, and I was like, I can never get that. I'll send you a video.
You had too much humility.
Here's something for you. I did it without ego.
Mm.
I did it all without ego. So that's important.
That's
All
a
right,
lot of
I'll let
brake.
you
That's
go
a
on the
lot of
science.
brake pedal. A lot of brake pedal along the way, guy.
I love that brake pedal gas analogy. That was a great analogy. That
That's
was a
kind
good
of
one.
it, though, right? It's the
It,
ego
it,
wants to
it
push,
really is.
the humility wants to hold you in. It's kind of this.
I think that's a better description. When I said you can't do them at the same time, is you either got to be going or stopping.
You can burn out. So what do you mean?
Show me an ego humility statement.
What do you mean?
So if they can exist in the same space, show me an ego and humility statement. I'm the best fucking person on earth.
Well, I think that was it. That's kind of a good scenario that you could draw on. Like, if I went into a competition, you goddamn better believe I'm coming to win this shit. But if it happens that I don't, good for you. But
That's
to
what you
mean
do.
it, to mean it, not just say it, but to mean it. I'm pretty sure that I would have the sportsmanship and everything to
You would.
then
You would.
say
You'd
also.
have more humility than ego. And you ever been on the mats? You ever done some
You said
jiu-jitsu?
both. You said both existing. You didn't say.
At the same time. So you can
Yeah.
have ego to get you through the power part of a event, but the
Mm.
humility afterwards. They can't exist at the same. My
You
point
know what this
is,
sounds a lot
show me.
like is what I told you a while back. Is what I said.
I'll give you another week. Show me an egocentrical, humble statement.
You know what this sounds a lot like is I told you this a while back is that the emotional center and the logical center and how one of them is driving the ship.
Yes, not at the same time.
The emotional center would be your ego. The logical center would be your humility.
Mm-hmm. And then you ever see Mizpah? You know the yin and yang. The
Yeah.
Mezpah is like the symbol of like the black and the white chasing each other, and there's a dot in the middle, and they're constantly chasing each other.
Yeah.
They can't exist at the same space at the same time. They're constantly chasing each other. So I'm going to say ego and humility are chasing each other.
Well, that's kind of like the any atom, right? The proton, neutron, electron. It's just balance. It's nothing is stable. Everything's in motion. That kind of thing.
Crazy planet that God put together. This is crazy insane. All right, let's
Crazy,
sign off, brother.
crazy, perfect plan that somehow has to keep changing. It's strange.
Well, has the plan changed?
Well, is it as it was?
2,000 years ago or 4,000 years ago.
How about 8 million years ago?
Whatever, 8 million years ago.
Hmm.
Man, woman, children going for greatness. Family.
So do you then believe that humans were always here?
No, I don't know, but I know one thing.
That's a hell of a pop up in your plan.
So there's this one alien that there's this guy. I don't know if I believe him. He's an alien. He's supposed to be channeling through this one dude. It's called
Hmm.
Bear Shy, and he says there's going to be more and more sightings of spacecraft. They're just going to park somewhere, and then they're going to get comfortable, and then they're going to have conversations. One of the first gifts they're going to give us is our history, and then we'll know because they were there and we weren't. How did this
Oh,
come around? Does that
they were
make sense?
there. They were there when they made us.
Well, whatever. Let's see what they say. Let's see what they say. I'm not going to believe everything I hear, but I'd like to see what they say.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear that story.
It's going to be a crazy one. All right, brother. Let's sign
All right,
off.
we're here.
You have a wonderful day, and we'll
Yeah,
talk
you
to you
too,
later,
man.
man. Great
Yes,
job.
sir. We're out.
Ciao.
Yeah.